bad. But the reason why my topic today is titled Stress, Let's Break Up or Not, is that, ladies and gentlemen, stress is not going anywhere. As long as you are alive, you will face what? Stress. The only people who are not facing any form of stress is who? The dead. And we're not dead. And we don't plan to anytime soon, or do we? No. Good. So let's talk about how it is that stress is normal and how we must learn to manage our stress. When we talk about mental health, so let's ask another question. How many people in this crowd have mental health? I have mental health. Raise up my hand. I see a hand at the back there. I have mental health. Raise up your hand. I see another hand. Thank you. I see another hand. I see another. So about 6 people. I'm coming down. Why didn't you raise up your hand?
I believe I don't have mental stress.
You don't have mental?
I don't have mental problem.
You don't have mental problem. But what did I ask you?
Mental head.
Thank you. Let me ask somebody else. Why didn't you raise up your hand?
Well, because I'm a little bit mentally stressed, so I just want to be truthful. I didn't bother raising up.
You just want to be truthful. Thank you very much. Let's ask one more person. Why did they raise up their hands? I'm coming to you. Why didn't you raise up your hands?
Because I don't have it, so
Okay. So I'm hopeful that at the end of today's conversation, we will learn a number of things. The reason why most people here did not raise up their hand, do you know why? Because there's mental. Mental. When you hear mental, what comes to your mind? Say it into my mind.
Kolo.
What comes to your mind?
Madness.
Madness. What comes to your mind?
That's the same madness.
Mad.
Madness.
Madness. And so the reason why most people did not raise up their hands is because every time we hear mental health, we're thinking crazy, mad, kolo, weary, psycho, loony, right? But what if I told you today that everyone here has mental health? Mental is just a word that describes an organ. And what is that organ? The brain. But because of whenever anybody says mental, what do you mean? You know well with that too. Let me tell you another story. How many people have heard about the story of the missing genitals? Missing genitals. They taught you. It disappears. Let's talk about it. How many people believe that it is true? We're not raising our hand now. But if we're in public, you say it's true. You experienced it. Did they show you a picture?
Let me just say. It was on a wedding day. A man was wedding the wife in my church. And immediately he discovered that the strength here has gone.
It's strength.
And the organ didn't go, but it fell. And we started praying. We discovered what happened, and it was restored.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to her. There's a quote that I like very much. And the quote is by a woman known as Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou says, until we know better, we do the best that we can. And then when we know better, we do what? We do better. So this disappearing organ story, I heard it when I was a child. And the story was that if you're walking in the market, as you do waka, if somebody touches you, what will happen? The organ will disappear. There have been over 66 cases in the past few weeks about organ disappearance. By the time they went to the police, as at the time they reported, over 50-something were lies. Now, let me tell you something. Last week, I went to speak somewhere, and as I was speaking, as I said it, one man said it happened to him when he was a young boy. They told them that some people from a certain part of the country will touch you, and your organ will disappear. So that day, he went to the market, and when he was in the market, he was walking like this. And somebody saw him. And immediately the person saw him, the person did like this. You, that thing. Immediately that happened. What happened? He panicked. He went into what we call a frenzy. His mind ran crazy. And the only thing he could tell himself was, somebody has taken what? My organ. So what did he do? He stripped himself naked in the market. Disappearing organs is a mental health condition. The organ does not disappear. In Delta State, I don't know if we heard this story. An old woman was beaten. She was stripped naked. They had put a tie around her neck because of the accusation that she took somebody's organ. A few weeks later, they interviewed the young man. What did he say? Did he disappear? No. So what happened? He said, I was just feeling somehow there. Did he disappear? No. Another innocent life would have been lost because we believe something that we cannot prove. The reason why I decided to start on this note is that you see, our responses to the question about mental health dictates how we treat people with mental health issues. In Nigeria now, if you count 4 people, 1 person is likely to have what? A mental health problem. But when these problems come, what do? We take them to traditional healers, to prayer houses, where they are beaten, they are chained, they are tied to trees. People like you and I. And I always say something when my patients sit across me. What is wrong with you? Can happen to me. I'm sure someone is thinking, are you wishing for something bad? No. But if people can have a hypertension, people can have a diabetes. Again, our Bible verse says that I wish above all things that you are well, even as your soul is well. And it's the reason why we must talk about stress. Because there's a lot of stress. Where? In Nigeria. In fact, the very fact that you are a Nigerian is what? It's stressful. You're already thinking, tomorrow is Monday again. As I was driving here, Third Mainland was closed. We had to take a longer route to get here. We stopped to buy petrol. I was asking the driver, how much is petrol today? You know that song now? They say just 1 liter, just 1 liter. Abi, go to Wasepo, go to Wasina, go to Wasana. Owe Potuwa, 500 Lepo. That was then. Katori Ranko. In some parts of the country, petrol is 700 naira. That's stress. But what we must know today is that stress is a response. What did I say? Stress is not abnormal. So for instance, if I say to you, sir, I like how you look today. I will give you so and so amount of money. What do we expect? Is expecting something. That's a response. Stress is a response. And so whenever we see anything that threatens us, that makes us feel afraid, that makes us feel like we are not safe, like we are not stable, the response is what? Stress. So stress is a response. If I wake up on a Monday morning and I'm thinking of driving and I'm thinking of Lagos traffic on 3rd Mainland Bridge, that traffic is a stressor. My response is what? Stress. And so that my response can be a response in my mind. It can be a response in my mood. I mean, I can't be thinking of traffic and be smiling. I won't be happy. That's a response. It can also be a response in my behavior, such that I can start shouting that, leave me alone. I'm about to enter Lagos traffic again. Stress is a response. And all of us have stressors. We have different things that are pushing our buttons. My biggest stressor in Lagos is what? Traffic. For some people, it's Owambe. For some people, is hanging out with the boys. For some people, they are their own biggest stressors. I remember many years ago, I went to see a friend's father. He was depressed. And so depression is low mood, low energy, lack of drive, lack of motivation. And some people who are depressed actually think of killing themselves. And when I saw him, I said, sir, why are you feeling the way you are feeling? Why are you sad? Why are you unhappy? You know what he told me? He said, doctor, as Olori Ebi, we will buy Asho Ebi now. There are weddings to attend. We have to give them money. It doesn't seem important, right? But sometimes we are our own stressors. The pressures that we put on ourselves. Sometimes many of us may put our children in schools that we cannot afford. Or we buy clothes that we cannot afford. Some of us take holidays and they tell us it's pay small, Abi, on a budget. But after a while, you can imagine if you took money to travel when the dollar was $7.50. How much is the dollar today? 1,000 and something. Even that one itself is stress. Response. Our body releases certain chemicals. You see, when we are happy, our body releases some chemicals. When we are sad, our body doesn't have those chemicals. But when we are under stress, the body releases what we call stress hormones. So if your body gets a little stress, traffic in Lagos, 1 hour, your body will release what? The stress hormone. The hormone is released into your system. After a while, it goes what? It goes away because the stressor has gone. But like many of us, including myself, when you are faced with what? Continuous stress, what happens? The chemicals continually stay in your body. And what the chemicals do is that they damage our bodies. And so whether it is keke napep. Every time I see a keke napep now, I'm afraid. Why? Because a month ago, my nanny was involved in a keke napep accident and it somersaulted. So every time I see keke napep, I'm like, stressor. For some people, their stressor is sitting in Lagos traffic. That's another stressor for me. For some, it's paying NEPA bills for no electricity. For some, it's the heat. I can see some people finding themselves. It's hot in Lagos. And sometimes it is all the bills that we have to cope. Thank you. All right. So what happens when we are stressed? There are two types of stress. The good stress and the bad stress. The stress that I had over the past 1 week, for me, is good stress. Why? Because I was able to work, I was able to be productive, I was able to get things done. But when bad stress comes, it leads to a state of burnout. What did I call it? So you're like a matchstick. And the matchstick doesn't just have fire at the edge. What does matchstick do? It burns. And some of us can get to a state of burnout. The sources of our stress are many. For some, it may be their children, because their children are not doing the things that make them happy. For some, it may be spouses. For some, it may be relationships. For some, it may be the fact that somebody just got served what? Breakfast. For some, it may be the fact that somebody has died. That's family stress. For some other people, it's the stress of the environment. For some, it's financial stress. Many of us, I said us, have financial stress. No be so? Aha, talk your own now. For some of us, it's the stress of our health. A number of us already have physical or mental health conditions that we are currently managing. When stress happens and affects from the hair on our head to what? The sole of our feet. How many people remember when Fashola was governor of Lagos? You remember? He came in with what? Black hair. Handsome young man. When he finished his tenure, what did we notice? That was what we could see. Imagine what we couldn't see going on inside. And so when stress happens, stress affects our body, our mind, our emotions, and our behavior. When I am stressed, how do I know I'm stressed? My shoulders start to pain me. For some people, it's continuous headaches. For some, they just feel tired. For some people, they feel breathless. For some people, they're shouting, they're cranky, they're angry. You say, Mommy, you say, yes, what is it? See, I just wanted to ask you a question. For some people, when they're stressed, they can't sleep. There's some people that when they're under a lot of stress, they do what we call comfort eating. They eat to comfort themselves. I'm hungry, I will eat. I'm sad, I will eat. I'm angry, I will eat. They just serve me breakfast, I will eat. And for some, who may be using substances of abuse like alcohol or cigarettes or all the other things that make people science students, they just find out that they are using more and more of these substances. And so you see somebody that ordinary, they say, I just want one for the road. They would have cleared like 12 bottles. And they want to still keep going on. Sometimes, when some people are stressed, they are grinding their teeth at night. Some will talk in their sleep or walk around the house. Now, how do we react to stress? When your body sees something that makes it afraid, what does your body do? Your brain tells your body that we have to protect her. That's the state of alarm. The second state is that the body will say, we've protected her, let's relax a little. That's called resistance. But the last phase is that when the body is overwhelmed and exposed to continuous stress, what happens? It just gets tired. And it says, you know what? Today, I am tired. When all of us are faced with stress, it affects how we enjoy ourselves. It affects our relationships with people. You know, some people, they will say, that auntie, she's always shouting. She's always angry. She's never in a good mood. It may be because she's under stress. And so, all of us learn how to manage stress. Because that's what we can do. Like when I started, what did I tell you? Stress is not going anywhere. Because even in the definition of mental health that we're running from, one of the things that it says that we must be able to do is that we must be able to cope with stress. So how do we cope? Over the years, people have learned different ways to cope with stress. Because stress can lead to major mental illness. And I'll give you an example. I once had a patient, a young man, who was working in a very top organization. He had worked there for over 10 years. And one day, he got there, opened the laptop, And he just couldn't do anything. He just couldn't function. He was overwhelmed. When they brought him to me, he said he had thought about ending his own life, and he was beginning to feel like a failure because at his age, so he was 35 at the time, he remembered that when his own father was 35, his father's businesses failed. And so what did this man start thinking? Maybe it's time for me to fail. Stress and exposure to stress. When we are overwhelmed with stress, I mean, look at all the things I've said. We will not sleep well, we will not eat well, we will not have good interactions. What it does is that it can put us at risk for depression, for anxiety, for substance use disorders. People just say that, you know what, I cannot come and go and what? Kill myself. Something must kill a man, Abi? And so people start looking for ways to cope. But what are some of the unhealthy ways to cope? Smoking, drinking too much, overeating or undereating. When some people are stressed, they don't eat. When you don't eat, your body is not able to fight diseases and illnesses. Some people, what do they cope with? Their phone. They pick up their phone and they say, I just want to send a text message to Auntie Shola. 2 hours later, where are they? On Instagram. They say, yeah, that text message I wanted to send. Some people sit down in front of the TV because they're trying to cope with stress. Some people withdraw from family and friends. And so sometimes we need to look out for our family members and our friends who ordinarily will call us, will pick up our calls. When you start noticing that your family members and friends are withdrawing, pay attention. A few years ago, I walked with a young lady. And when I saw her, she said, Doctor, I want to tell you a story. And she said a few months before I met her, her father killed himself. It happens in Nigeria. And that story happened here. What happened? The man had been out of a job for a long time. Stress, right? He had reached out to family and friends to support him, and they turned him down. Stress. The reality of paying his children's school fees, coping and being a man for the home. He couldn't do it. Stress. He had a physical health condition, and he couldn't buy his medication when he needed to. Stress. And so one day, one of the children saw this man writing something. And every time she wanted to go close, the man would hide it. That evening, the man took his own life. And when they read the letter, the man said, I have felt hopeless for a very long time. You see, many times when people say to us, please help me, what are we always thinking about? Make we no lie. Money. But sometimes, when people say help me, they may just want you to listen. They may just want to know that somebody cares, that someone is there to support them. So let's pay attention to our relatives when they withdraw. When people start to, I'm supposed to do this thing now, I'll push it till another time. Then I'll push it till another time. Procrastinating. It may be a source of stress or a signal. Some people are angry and they take that anger on other people. You know, sometimes, maybe when daddy goes to work and daddy's oga has shown him pepe at work, daddy now comes home and daddy is shouting at all the children. Stress. Sometimes in some of our relationships, and we must talk about it even though we are in church, some partners beat their partners. You can say I did not say men beat women. I said partners beat partners. Because women also beat men. Yes, thank you. And these are the realities that we need to start talking about. How can we better manage stress? We can better manage stress with, number one, changing the way we think about stress. You see, as I've told you today, stress is normal. if next time you think about stress and the first thing you tell yourself is what? Stress is normal. It will change how your body reacts to stress. Because if your mind tells your body, stress is wahala, what will your body do? Your body will say, what's going on there? How can we protect this person? But if your brain tells your body, stress is normal, it reacts differently. So we need to change the way we think about stress. In psychology, we always talk about our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior. Again, change the way you think about stress. If I stand in front of a mirror today and I look at myself and I say, wow, Bonju, you are ugly. Day 1. By day 3, I go to the front of the mirror again and I say, but you're ugly, Sha. By day 5, do you think I need as much energy as I needed on day 1? No. And so by day 9, by day 10, when I get to the front of the mirror, I'm likely to do like this. Because my mind will tell me what? You already know. Tell yourself that stress by itself is not bad. What is bad is chronic stress. Chronic exposure to the things that stress you. And the things that stress you can be people. It can be one, yourself. It can be your friends. It can be your spouse. Sometimes, some places stress you. I live in Lagos, but there are some places I would rather not go. Like Mile 12. I'm sure somebody is wondering, how do I shop? I don't shop at Mile 12. And I'll tell you why. When we were children, there was the Hausa Yoruba clash. And we're living around that area. For me, every time I'm around that area, what is it? It's a form of stress. And so if I can avoid it, I won't go there. So avoid people, places, and processes that fuel your stress. You also need to learn to say no. It's not everything they come and meet you, you say yes. Auntie, can you help us with this? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. You want to be seen as a good person. Of course, some people keep saying yes because they are trying to people please. It's a trauma response. Learn to say no. Avoid people who stress you out. Be careful about after hearing news, I will not be dreaming that I'm in Zambisa forest. Have I been there before? No. Have I been to Borno State? No. So my husband said, stop watching the news. Avoid things that trigger you. The second A is that you must alter your feelings. Talk about how you feel. You know, as human beings, we always want to say, they say, oh, bros, how are you? I'm happy, I'm okay. You're not okay. If you're not okay, say, I'm not okay. If you ask me on a day that I'm tired, I'll tell you I'm tired. If you ask me on a day that I'm not feeling too well, I'll say, I'm not feeling too good. Instead of bottling up your feelings, talk about it. Focus on the positive. The third A is that you must learn to adapt. Instead of seeing a problem as a problem all the time, ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? Not everything that you see as a problem is a problem. Sometimes it's about the energy that we give it and how it is that we see it. The last thing is learn to accept. You know, there's some things we can't change. How much is the dollar? Can you change it? Why are you now disturbing yourself? That I hope by tomorrow it will go to 1 naira. It's unlikely to happen. There are too many market forces. Accept the things that you cannot change. And the Serenity Prayer teaches us what? To accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There's some things I can't change and I'm not going to change it. I'm black. No matter how I wish I could become white, except by bleaching, and even then I will not be white. Meditate on the Word of God. We're in church, so let's talk about how it is that we must meditate on the Word of God. You must place your hope in the Lord so that He can renew your strength. Our strength is supposed to be renewed like that of the eagles, but only if you place your strength where? In God. Even in your weaknesses, God's power can work. And the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 12 verse 7 that we should walk by faith not by sight. Place your hope in God, like Isaiah 40 verse 31 says, and learn to soar like an eagle, run and not grow weary, walk and not be faint. Apart from changing our thoughts, we must exercise. Some of us exercise, some of us don't. You know, when we were growing up, the story was, Dele will come downstairs. Yes, Daddy, bring that remote. In this day and time,